Love this podcast? Support this show through the Acast supporter feature. It's up to you how much you give, and there's no regular commitment. Just hit the link in the show description to support now.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Make another smart choice with Auto Quote Explorer to compare rates from multiple car insurance companies all at once. Try it at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
A little self-care can go a long way, especially amidst the hustle and bustle of the holidays. That's where Vegamore comes in. Trusted by millions, Vegamore is all about giving your hair the love and care it deserves. With their vegan and cruelty-free formulas, you can nourish and revitalize your strands while indulging in some much-needed pampering. Because let's face it, who couldn't use a bit more me time this time of year? Go to vegamore.com/ACAST, code ACAST. That's vegamor.com/ACAST, code ACAST.
Okay, hello everybody. My name's John Bleasdale. I'm at the Cannes Film Festival for Writers on Film, and I'm here with two European film experts who are both with EuroNews, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And you are?
David Mouriquand, the Deputy Culture Editor at EuroNews.
And Fred Ponsard, actually, critics and culture référent, as we said in French.
Grand Poobah.
Advisor, in a way, for cinema and culture.
Okay, I've got a very quick question for you before we get to the film that we're going to talk about, or a couple of questions, actually. First off, what was your first Cannes?
My first Cannes was in the late 20th century, actually, in the early 90s, and it was in 93 for So Far So Close of Wim Wenders, who won the grand prize. And actually at that time I worked in Lyon with Thierry Frémaux, actually, which was the director of the Institut Lumière, and I was his driver. I worked for him and for the Institut Lumière, of course, as a young student. And he just asked me one day to rent a car and smoking, as we said in French, a tuxedo, sorry, for my French. And so we drove from Lyon to Cannes, and it was the first time I was there, and I was this ticket to see this movie, and it was my first entry in Cannes. And then I started to write for papers, mainly. It wasn't digital at that time, but it was the first time of internet as well. And so I worked until the 2002, and I started for EuroNews and for television. So it was my first memory, Wim Wenders. And last year he won the grand prize as well with Perfect Days. So yeah, for me it's like
Loop.
a loop. Yeah, exactly.
The circle closes.
Exactly, yeah.
And David?
I mean, mine's not as interesting as Fred. I think mine was in 2015, so quite recent. It was when Jacques Audiard won the Palme d'Or with Dipan. But I remember really enjoying that year because there was, I'm actually pulling it up now, there was Yorgos Lanthimos with The Lobster, Louder Than Bob's, the Joachim Trier, what else was there? The Sicario, I really enjoyed that, the Denis Villeneuve, and Laszlo Nemes with Son of Saul. So, I mean, it was a really, really good year to start. But I mean, I have to admit, I must confess, I've been dipping in and out of Cannes. I've been going quite regularly recently, but I've always kind of preferred going to Berlin or Venice. I can't deny. I love Cannes, but there is a kind of air of gentle lunacy here that tends to kind of, just mess with me and my stress levels in Cannes.
Yeah, there's a kind of craziness in Cannes because everybody's stressed in a way. There's so many people, and it's very different from Berlin and Venice. But at the same time, I enjoy so much Cannes because you've got so many possibilities to see movies from the competition, but from the Un Certain Regard, from the Quinzaine des Cinéastes, from the Semaine de la Critique. So you've got a huge menu. So you just have to pick up some things, and that's the pleasure in Cannes, more than in Berlin or Venice. That less proposition in a way, even if it's rich, and at the same time, Cannes is the way just to couple in a way fashion or the parties, things like that, and culture at the same time, and strong issues which are on the screen there. So you've got the whole picture is that of cinema, and it represents cinema for the world picture.
You can see why he makes the big bucks at EuroNews. I mean, that genuinely, now you made me like it even more now. It's just like, God damn it.
It's like, I was thinking Venice is like a tasting menu and Cannes is like an eat all you want restaurant.
That's actually a really good way of saying it.
Okay, one last question before we move on to the film.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Encounters in Cannes. Cannes is one of these places that you meet people, famous people, you meet fellow critics. Who have you met in Cannes? Have you got an encounter that sort of springs to mind that you'd like to tell us?
I do purely because it was one of the worst interviews I ever did. I got 10 minutes with Sylvester Stallone, and
did he punch you?
No, he didn't. No. Funnily enough, he didn't. I just couldn't understand a word he was saying. So it was just one of those things where, obviously, you're Hollywood legend, and all of that, Rocky Balboa. But at the same time, I can't deny I couldn't really give a monkeys about the actual film and interviewing him. But it was still sliced alone, and I just couldn't understand him. And he was just like during the whole thing. I was just politely nodding along and trying not to get punched. And essentially, I remember at the time going back to my editor, just going, I have no sodding idea how I'm going to transcribe this interview because it is just noise. And I made him listen to the thing, and he was just like, well, good luck with that, David. It's all on you, boy.
You could just speed it up the thing and maybe it'd make sense.
I should have tried that.
Usually you slow it down.
Yeah, but should have tried that. But no, that one, and I mean, you're right. There are, I mean, even last year, Fred and I were here, and it is wonderful, specifically after the Palme.
Yeah.
When you get to meet the winners on the passerelle and stuff like that. And I mean, I remember there was...
actually, we have few TVs to have the lucky place to be there just after the award ceremony and just to talk with Justin Triet last year and
Jonathan Glazer.
Yeah, Jonathan Glazer, of course.
Yeah.
And all the awarded talents. So it's splendid. But about the encounters, I'm just remember this day where on the very same day I interview Robert De Niro, which is just
Wow.
yeah, Robert De Niro, and Paris Hilton. Just one. And it's Cannes.
Waxwork.
It's
House of
Cannes.
Wax.
It's Cannes.
House
And
of
it's a good summary of Cannes. So you're from the top to the bottom.
Well, let's not say that. Let's not say the
If I
bottom.
can
Let's
say that.
yes.
So
let's say from the top to the not so top.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry for my French.
Brilliant. Let's move on to the film that we've all watched, which was the only debut that is showing in competition this year, I think.
That is correct, yeah, and it's from a French filmmaker called Agathe Redinger, and it's called Diamant Brut, Wild Diamond, is the English title, and first feature film, not the opening film, because that was Quentin Dupieux, but the first competition film we get to see. So, I mean, quite a mark of confidence on behalf of Thierry Frémaux and the Cannes Selection Committee. And I mean, it's a film about the perils of social media in a way, and the cult of beauty and what people will do in modern society in order to get ahead, but to also chase fame in a way that can be toxic, that can be body altering, that can be detrimental not only potentially to your mental health. And while it does kind of tackle these subjects, I think it does it in quite a subtle way without, going into, isn't TikTok shit? Or, these youngsters and their Instagrams. So I thought that was rather good.
There's no judgment, actually, in this portrait of a young woman taken by the Instagram, TikTok and stuff like that, and TV reality show, because she intends to have a job in a big show and glory and fame and so on. But there's any judgment about that. She just show a young girl struggles for life and struggle to make his own way in this crazy world, in a way. So I like this movie, and it's part of this young French filmmaker. I remember largely for Les Misérables, for instance. We did a short movie first and then a long feature, and it's quite the same thing for this movie, because Diamant Brut in French is like that. She takes a wild diamond, which is this young woman, and just show us all the things that shines and that can be reflects on this diamond, and show all the different facets or angles of this young woman without judgment, and that's the power of the movie, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And the central performance by Malou Kebizi is, I thought, really quite remarkable.
No.
The film as a whole does hit some familiar beats. It doesn't kind of reinvent anything. But on the whole, for a debut film, I think it's incredibly kind of confident. She Agathe Redinger knew exactly what she was doing. Whether or not by the end of the festival it's one that's going to kind of linger in the mind, but I mean, it was confident, solid, and even in its tone. I mean, I remember telling you, John, earlier on that it had this kind of feeling. You weren't quite sure. It wasn't a happy ending. It wasn't necessarily a sad ending, but at the same time, it did feel like almost the prequel to the film Pleasure, where an aspiring performer arrives in Hollywood and is faced with the reality of the dream that she's been chasing, and how toxic that dream is, or whether or not she'll find what she's looking for. But she does remain a young woman who, as opposed to the people around her and as opposed to her mother in particular, a character which I have to admit I was a bit frustrated by, because not particularly well-rounded and hit quite a few cliches, but nonetheless the young performer just basically, she chases her dreams, as you say. She is somebody who actually is putting it out on the line, and there is something to be celebrated about that.
Yeah. You say everything, actually, yeah. I think it's a good movie for the jury, and especially because Greta Gerwig is the president of the jury, and this is a portrait of a young woman, as I said, who struggled for life, and that's quite brilliant.
And there were some sort of odd facets to her character as well, which weren't within the cliche. There was her religiosity. She's quite a religious young woman despite this. There's elements of that, at least. And there's elements of attitudes to sex which aren't as straightforward as you think they're going to be when you first see her. In fact, the first scene is her on a train being sort of misogynistically abused by a casual male passerby, and her anger at that, shows that her attitude to sex is actually a lot different from the appearance suggests.
Yeah, and in that way, it did subvert that in quite a subtle way, I thought. And the religious aspect is interesting because throughout the film, you see text appear on the screen, which are all the comments that she may have on social media, and every single time, it always tends to end with one very negative or horrific comment, like, you should kill yourself, and the kind of bile that you see online. But there was always religious text in there as well. And that progresses, and towards the end it does hammer the point across that, this religion, this cult of beauty, and how religion can be co-opted in many, many ways, like a diamond has different facets. And this toxic cult of beauty, much like the toxicity of organised religion in many, many ways. I'm probably shouldn't be saying that right now, but okay, yeah. You heard it here first.
Yeah. Okay, though, that was brilliant. Thank you so much, guys, for sharing very early on. And hopefully we will see you. We'll see you later on in the festival.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I would love that.
We've got 22 movies to see.
What are you looking? Hold on,
yeah.
Before we finish, John, I'm going to turn things around. What are you most looking forward to in competition? Let's limit it to competition for our sanity.
Well, Megalopolis, I'm very curious about because I think it's a very curious film, and just the story behind it makes it very curious. But in terms of sort of looking forward to something in terms of, say, quality, I think probably the Lanthimos. Kinds of kindness. Yeah, no, that's definitely on my radar. There's one I'm particularly looking forward to, which is the Coralie Fargeton, her second film, which is called The Substance, with David the midnight screening.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and there's something about that because I'm a big fan of horror, but also just because of her first film, Revenge, which was so good.
Excellent film. Yes.
Yeah, and this kind of candy-coloured kind of spin on the Revenge film, and here, I don't know, I've only seen a few stills, and the thing is that, I don't know, I've got really high hopes for that one.
Yeah, I'm seeing that on Saturday.
Same.
Fred?
Perhaps the Serebrennikov, Kirill Serebrennikov, because he's Russian, but exiled in Germany, and Limonov is an adaptation of a French book.
Emmanuel Carrère,
yes, Limonov. And Emmanuel Carrère is Russophone, actually. He knows very well Russia and all the details of these layers of political thinking in Russia. And the book was just, overwhelming me when I wrote it. But, perhaps the Kirill Serebrennikov, especially because he's Russian.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
In these dark times.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Fred, and thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Perfect.
Shorter days and chillier nights can make it tough to keep up your fall workout routine. Thankfully, there's Alo Moves, the app that brings health and wellness to the comfort of your home. Alo Moves offers yoga, Pilates, strength workouts, and other fitness classes, plus wellness offerings like meditations, sound baths, and more. Whether you have 5 minutes or an hour, Alo Moves has a class or flow that saves you from a frigid trip to the gym. Get a 30-day free trial and 20% off an annual membership with code ACAST at alomoves.com.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
What makes a great pair of glasses? At Warby Parker, it's all the invisible extras without the extra cost. Their designer quality frames start at $95, including prescription lenses, plus scratch-resistant, smudge-resistant, and anti-reflective coatings, and UV protection, and free adjustments for life. To find your next pair of glasses, sunglasses, or contact lenses, or to find the Warby Parker store nearest you, head over to warbyparker.com. That's warbyparker.com.